Hey guys, welcome to my second video on my interview with Morenike. So there's a lot covered in this video, but more specifically, it talks about why it's so important to be perseverant in your networking and further what people are looking for in job applications and in applications for internships in general. If you can't watch the whole thing, I recommend you skip to this part of the entire video. I think it's really important because she talks about specifically what she, and in general, what people look for and what's most important in an application and what you can do to stand out and have a much greater chance of success in getting hired for an internship or for a job. So yeah, let's get right into it. Did any of these maybe like intern kind of like opportunities where you kind of like proved yourself, did that lead you to Commonwealth in any way? Did that?
Kind of. So for this particular intern, I knew I wasn't going to necessarily work there. I always knew that the purpose of this internship was to get my next job at Avalier. I knew I wanted to be a healthcare consultant from undergrad. And so I picked an organization that I knew the experience there would be. And funny enough, again, I blabbed to everyone about my life goal. And two of the two folks that worked at that organization, one of them was like, "Oh, what's it called, intramural league, this league I'm on for softball, one guy works at that organization, should I set you guys up?" And the guy ended up referring me to Avalier. So again, you never know. Like, I mean, he liked me because I did a good job and I got the lunches right. And so when he met this person, he was like, "Oh, I know someone that's really interested in Avalier." Like, so again, being really kind, being super diligent and open, like tell everyone where you want to work, what you want to do. And eventually the right person's going to say, "Oh my goodness. Okay. I remember this person said this. So let me try and help."
Perfect. That's crazy. It's like the most random connections, but just like do those small habits, just like,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
That's so amazing. Thank you for that.
Of
So
course.
kind of switching gears a little bit, talking about maybe like resumes and stuff like that. What I know you kind of talked about this a little bit like in your internships, like being motivated, hardworking, kind of like doing every job well. But what other maybe like skills or qualities do you think make students or like young professionals stand out when they're like maybe on their resume when they're going to get hired? Like for example, if you were going to hire someone, like what would you be looking for? If you were going to take in a student for an internship, like what would
Mm.
you be looking for?
Leadership positions, clear explanation of leadership positions. So I like to see things like if someone tells me um they were like external affairs representative for their student club, I want to see things like organize 5 rallies focused on XYZ
Wow. Uh-huh.
topics. If someone tells me that they were the treasurer for, again, one of their student organizations, I want to see something like created 6 databases to blah blah blah. It's really all about demonstrating that if I give you a task, I don't have to worry about you. You know how to
Mm,
figure it out. So
mm-hmm.
that's what's important. I mean, young students don't have concrete responsibilities. They're young. They didn't like
Mm-hmm.
run a company. But does this person have capacity to handle a task? Can they lead a task? Like if I give them something, can they figure it out? And if they don't know the answer, do they know how to find the answer? Do they know how to ask the right questions? It's all about problem solving. So on a resume, we seasoned um, hiring managers, we understand that, in terms of the position, it's not going to be high. It's always going to be entry. But it's a matter of, on this resume, is there something critical? Have they been given really important responsibilities and they executed it well? That's really what people want to see.
Perfect. Is there anything, maybe if you're receiving like an email or again with like the resume, like if you see something and then you're like maybe the resume or the email could be perfect, but then you're like, you see something and you're like, no, like
Ooh, that's a good one. Typos
typos.
are really big because, again, we don't expect too much experience, but whoa, basic reading, we have to get the basic
Hmm.
reading down. Secondly, it's little things like thank you notes are super important. No matter what, if anyone speaks to you, it's very important. So courtesy. So we also look out for courtesy. Um, Third, I would say is a good structured email. Just knowing how to say good afternoon. My name is XYZ. I'm looking like, your introduction email was perfect. So, maybe share your template, but just good introduction, clear mission. Like, why are you emailing?
Hmm.
Contact signature. So just basics of communication, but executing it well, proofreading and presenting yourself in a very eager and professional manner.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Of
So,
course.
kind of switching to a more, well, not random question, it's still relevant, but it's a bit different. So, when you think of the word successful, what does that mean to you? And maybe, is there maybe like one person you would think about? You could give an example that you would think of as successful?
Wow. Success. It's a really good existential crisis. I mean, question. I think, I mean, it's both a crisis and a question, but
Mm.
successful, I think it's really a matter of when you set out to do something, do people remember that you did it well?
Mm.
And I think part of a big part of success is integrity for yourself and integrity for your work. So I mean, this is not to sound pompous, but I consider myself successful, not because other people may tell me, but because I know the goals I set out to accomplish. And then it's not just that I accomplished them, I also know the hard work to put in to get there. So for me, because I think of the diligence and the integrity with which I did it, I feel successful. I'm like, I really put in the
Mm.
work and I
Mm.
got and I did it while treating people kindly because to get there, I needed help. So I'll give two examples. When I was in undergrad, again, I had a regimen with undergrad, as I said. So while I was in undergrad, I knew that I wanted to go to grad school right after, but I also knew the job I wanted right after. I Googled good jobs with public health. It said healthcare consulting. Then I looked up different things in healthcare consulting. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be traveling. I don't want to do that type of consulting. I need to do the consulting where you don't travel. And I found Avalier. This was when I was in undergrad. I was like, you know what? I'm going to work at Avalier when I'm done grad school. So at this point, this is like a 3 year plan. I think I was a junior. So I was like, in 3 years, I need to be at this. So I set that goal. I was like, I'm going to go to grad school. I'm going to do the internships. I'm going to end up at Avalier. Now, when I say the diligence, there is nobody I didn't network. I met so
Mm.
many people. It was so bad. There was one lady that I saw her on the bus, and I saw, oh my gosh, is that an Avalier bag? She goes, yeah, I work there. And I said, oh my gosh, I really want to work there. Can I email you? Long story, we actually ended up on the same team. She didn't even know. She was like, oh my god, you're the girl on the bus. I was like, yeah, but I mean, she never referred me, and that was okay. I didn't give up. I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep emailing, and I emailed until finally that one hiring manager took a chance and he was like, who are you? And he spoke to me and he liked my resume and I came in, I interviewed and I got the job. So that was like step one
Wow.
is so then while I was at Avalier, it's so crazy. It's good I just had it in mind, like after 2 years, I was like, you know what? I want to work for a nonprofit and that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to do nonprofit. It's going to be strategy. Like that's it. Like cool. And so while I was at Avalier, I was just doing my job, working hard. And my current boss, she was a client at Avalier. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, she's at the Commonwealth Fund. Cool. So I was like really diligent with her work. I worked really hard on it. And, we had really good rapport. And I did the project. And a year later, they reached out to me and they said, we have a position opened. You designed this. Do you want to
Mm.
work? So I consider it successful, not because I have the job, but because that's my story is no, I really put in a lot of strategy, strategic
Mm.
thinking, networking, perseverance, like diligence. Like I'm telling you, so many people at Avalier knew my name that when I got there, I was like, see, I got the job. Like surprise. So
Mhm.
so diligence is super important. And so that's why
Perfect.
I feel successful. Now, in terms of someone that I feel successful, I will say that my current boss,
Mm.
she's so humble. If she heard this, she would be like, oh my God. But she's very, very successful. And again, it's for those same reasons. It's not just because of the title she has or her education or the fact that she's a doctor or all these things. It's the fact that she's been super diligent and hardworking and so every stripe that she has earned it. Like she's very qualified for the things that she speaks of. It's not just hype. She's as smart as she is given credit for. And on top of that, she's a great people manager. Like actually, I love her as a human being, and I consider
Mm.
her successful because now she has a legacy of that. Like there's a group of young women that look forward to her and say, "Wow, you've done so many wonderful things. We aspire to be like you." So I would say she's a great example of that to me.
Wow. And yeah, and all that success that you were talking about, like you were saying, comes from being strategic, from like, yeah, the opportunities, like networking with like anyone that you can. And also, like you were saying, like time management, like you said that you like a Google kind of like led to this as you were searching for like
Yeah,
jobs. I think that's very
yeah,
important, especially like now,
yeah,
because like obviously like tech is at a point right now where you can just like search anything on Google and you can get so many responses, like even like
yeah,
artificial intelligence if you're using it like responsibly.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can you can get so much out of that and you can save time, which is also like something that high school students and like college students kind of like
yeah.
might not have that much of.
And I want to add, it's not even a matter of having the answers. Part of the diligence is figuring out the answer. I didn't
Mm,
know that I wanted to do consulting. At this point, I was in my third year of public health as a major, and I had no idea what I wanted to like. I still didn't have a clue what I wanted to work in, but I set out time to look it up. I kept looking at it's not like I landed on consulting the first time. I found it. I looked up so many firms. I know all the firms. I looked up, okay, which one is specific to my culture, which one has
mm,
diversity. It takes time. And so if you waste your time, you're not going to find it. So that's why I had a regimen is I need to figure it out. So,
right. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I have another question. It's a little bit random, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So, wait, actually, before I get to that one, I'm gonna ask you a more relevant one. So, how would you say failure has like maybe set you up for success?
oh, I know it's a cliche sound or cliche, what's it called, phrase, but failure is redirection. Failure
Mm-hmm.
is you got to get back up. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I see myself as a bit of a fighter. Like if I get rejection or failure, it's like, and then that sucks. Getting back in. So
Mm.
I actually I got one other job offer in consulting, and they ended up last minute taking the offer back. Like this is yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
But I don't care. They called the hiring manager called me. He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, the budget got cut. I was like, whatever. Back on Avalar's website because I gave up on Avalar. I was like, you know what? Back on the website. I'm supposed to be here. I'm gonna find someone. I've spoken to like 10 people. I don't care. I'm gonna speak to an 11th. Um, Second thing is failure is not personal. Very rarely do you cause your own failure. Some people do due to the lack of responsibility. Sometimes it's really just not your fault. Like, yes, you failed,
Mm-hmm.
but it was hard. It was really hard. It just was external. So
Mm.
I try not to I don't internalize it. Honestly, I don't. Like, I'll cry and be sad, but we're getting back up. We're getting back up because it also has to do with confidence. It's like no matter what happens, I'm still good and I'm still competent and I'm good at things. So I'm gonna
Mm.
go back and reroute. Like, okay, I'm gonna change this up. Like, this didn't work. Just because something doesn't work doesn't mean I didn't work. The two are separate. So those are my thoughts on failure. Is it hurts, but you keep going till you don't fail. So you keep trying
Mm.
until you don't. You just don't repeat the same mistakes. That's when it's a real failure. Is if you keep doing the same thing, don't do the same thing. Change it again until you get the right formula.
Right. And that has to do with having like a strong mentality, like you were saying, being confident in your abilities. Sometimes things are out of your control. Perfect.
Absolutely.
That's very valuable. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
now for the random question. So, what purchase of $100 or less have you made in the last 6 months that you think has like most impacted your life?
Oh my goodness, $100 or less. Okay, I really gotta think about this one. Should I check
It
my
can be
Amazon?
whatever. It can be like
hundred
what
dollars or
anything.
less. I know there's something. Let me just take 1 minute to think about it.
Hmm. No
One
problem.
$100 or less.
Yeah, I know it's a hard question.
That's a good question. Oh, okay. I just recently got into thermals for cold
Hmm.
temperatures. I don't know why anyone didn't tell me about this. Like I could just layer on and I don't have to be cold. It's been life changing. I know it's super random, but I get cold very easily. Like it bothers me a lot. And we're in the dead of winter and I'm on the East Coast. So just thermals. It's been great. That's it. That's my purchase of $100 or less.
Perfect. And then, yeah, that just has to do with like practicality. Like, uh,
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And finally, do you have any requests or asks of the audience?
I don't have any requests. I guess as a final closing, I think the best qualities to have as a young person who's figuring it out is just diligence, a lot of diligence, and being relatable. Those two will take you farther. You don't have to be the smartest person. You don't even have to be the most hardworking person. You don't have to be you don't have to be super privileged, but like if you're a people person and people like you and you're diligent, meaning you're good at what you're doing, like you work on being good, those two you can go far.
Right. And maybe like the fancy opportunities that people like glamorize so much, like I don't know, like programs that some people might pay like a bunch of money for, like
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
networking or things like that. Like you were saying, like you found people to network like on your bus. Like it's if
Yeah.
you're like
Oh yeah.
looking and you have your eyes open for the opportunities, like they're there and you don't need like all these like money,
Oh
fancy
yeah.
resources.
Yeah, I never used any programs. I just met like the
Yeah.
person who ended up hiring me at Avalair. I just messaged him. I had a friend who was connected to him on LinkedIn, and I messaged her. Excuse me. But you know what I said
Perfect.
about blabbing to everyone? I was blabbing to her. I was like, "This guy, I noticed you know him. I need to meet him. He's a hiring manager." You know, first she was like, I don't know. He was kind of rude when I met him. I don't think he's gonna hire anyone. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. He ended up hiring me. So so yeah, you don't need fancy programs. I'm telling you, talk to anyone. You're young and you don't have a job. Talk to anyone at the coffee shop, at the pharmacy. If anyone takes a liking to you, blab about what you want to do. Someone will help.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're
It's been so
welcome.
nice asking all these questions, and I think we got some really valuable insight. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So that was the second part of my interview with Morenike. I hope you guys learned a lot. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out my videos on my interviews with Felipe Zapata and Casey Rojas. Those are also really helpful, and they also touch upon kind of like similar subjects such as like how to get internships, why networking is so important, etc.